Namaste, welcome to the Advaita channel, and today I'm going to read from the Song of Ribhu, or the English translation of the Ribhu Gita. I just have to pause YouTube. Om Sri Muji Ji Ki Jai, Om Sri Ananta Ji Ki Jai. And so every time I'm reading, they're not in consecutive order, but I assume that's fine. Today I'm reading from chapter 12. I've been reading from chapter 1 and kind of reading it consecutively myself, but so I'm just reading from where I am. Okay. So this chapter is called All is Brahman Alone. For the benefit of all, I shall explain to you the rare exposition of the truth, the highly secret, the most secret of the secret, and difficult to come by, as expounded earlier to me by the Supreme Lord, the one to be comprehended through Vedanta. Listen to this with one-pointed attention, and unerringly understand its meaning. So, always all is only Brahman. Ignorance and its result are only Brahman. All things, sentient and insentient, are only Brahman. What appear as real and unreal are only Brahman. The various beings are only Brahman. The variety of worlds is only Brahman. All bodies subject to decay are only Brahman. All the life they embrace is only Brahman. The great mantras are only Brahman. What is listened to with devotion is only Brahman. The great aphorisms, Mahavakyas, are only Brahman. The meanings of these to be comprehended are only Brahman. The knowledge of the Supreme, with nothing apart, is only Brahman. The undivided liberation is only Brahman. Bondage that fully embraces is only Brahman. Whatever is seen as manifold is only Brahman. Various actions are only Brahman. Their results are only Brahman. The good and bad qualities are only Brahman. Praise and derision are all only Brahman. Transient time is only Brahman. The several countries spreading over vast spaces are only Brahman. All moving things are only Brahman. All ever is only Brahman. And I just want to say as well, and it says it at the beginning of this book, that this is not meant to be listened to like in a like just like repeating a line over and over again with your mind, but rather that when you hear the words that are spoken, that you confirm them in your heart each time. So it's not like just saying, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, and it doesn't mean anything to you. But instead, like, confirm the truth of the words when you hear them in your heart. Or like allow it to be confirmed in your heart. You don't have to do anything. Ignorance, which is to be eschewed, is only Brahman. Antakarana, the internal faculties consisting of mind, intellect, ego, thought, is only Brahman. The ego of ill effect is only Brahman. The deluded mind and intellect are only Brahman. Thought which arises is also only Brahman. The inconstant senses are only Brahman. The decaying body is only Brahman. All wondrous things are only Brahman. The growth and wakefulness are only Brahman. The subtle and the dream are only Brahman. The causal and the deep sleep are only Brahman. The experiencer of all the three is only Brahman. Vyasti, the discrete, the distinct, which takes on forms, is only Brahman. Samasti, the aggregate, is only Brahman. Time and such are only Brahman. All appearances that are seen are only Brahman. The unattached fourth state is only Brahman. The experiencer of the fourth state is only Brahman. The pentad of sheets is only Brahman. The experiencer of these is only Brahman. All that arises of the elements is only Brahman. Space and others of the pentad of elements are only Brahman. All things that are thought of are only Brahman. The moving and the unmoving that are extensive are all only Brahman. This man and this woman and that woman are all only Brahman. This, that, and anything else are only Brahman. Men and women so described are all only Brahman. That which is neither male nor female is only Brahman. The variety of worlds and beings are only Brahman. The Lord Ishvara, the all-pervasive, is only Brahman. Whatever is, wherever, howsoever, is all only Brahman. What appears as existent is only Brahman. What appears as non-existent is only Brahman. What appears as the perceiver is only Brahman. What appears as the perceived is only Brahman. What appears as the covering is only Brahman. What appears as the residue is only Brahman. What appears as the spread out is only Brahman. All the variety of appearances is only Brahman. What appears as manifold is only Brahman. What appears as undeveloped is only Brahman. What appears as a wonderful picture is only Brahman. What appears undistinguished is only Brahman. What appears as special is only Brahman. What appears as impressive is only Brahman. Whatever appears in whatever way is only Brahman. All appearances that seem different are only Brahman. What appears as one is only Brahman. What appears as jewel is only Brahman. What appears as a part is only Brahman. What appears as partless is only Brahman. What appears as heaven is only Brahman. What appears as hell is only Brahman. What appears as delusion is only Brahman. What appears as wisdom is only Brahman. What appears as knowledge is only Brahman. What appears as the knower is only Brahman. What appears as thirst is only Brahman. What appears as water is only Brahman. What appears as sorrow is only Brahman. What appears as happiness is only Brahman. What appears as dumb is only Brahman. What appears with the capacity to understand is only Brahman. What appears as you and I is only Brahman. What appears as all is only Brahman. What appears as variety is only Brahman. What appears as ours is only Brahman. Honor and disrespect are only Brahman. Enjoyable gain and loss are only Brahman. Gift and charity are only Brahman. Debilitating sin is only Brahman. The mountains and rivers are only Brahman. The shrines and holy waters are only Brahman. The gods residing therein are only Brahman. The services rendered to these gods are only Brahman. The billowing oceans are only Brahman. Islands thereon are only Brahman. Different classes of forests are only Brahman. Birds and insects are only Brahman. Brahma and other gods are only Brahman. The crores of macrocosms are only Brahman. The worlds of Hara and others are all only Brahman. All differences therein are only Brahman. What is understood as here and beyond are only Brahman. Whatever is seen and thought of is only Brahman. All kinds of conditionings are only Brahman. The world, the individuals, and the Supreme are all Brahman alone. The nature of Brahman is existence, consciousness, bliss. The nature of Brahman is all complete fullness. The nature of Brahman is eternal and the taintless. The nature of Brahman is partless and pure. The nature of Brahman is pure formlessness. The nature of Brahman is self-illumined. The nature of Brahman is non-dual. The nature of Brahman is undivided, complete, and perfectly full. The nature of Brahman is higher than the highest. The nature of Brahman is the supreme state. The nature of Brahman is one without any sheath. The nature of Brahman is one that is actionless. The nature of Brahman is one that has no movement or such. The nature of Brahman is one that is motionless. The nature of Brahman is one that is ancient. The nature of Brahman is one that is perfectly full. The nature of Brahman is one that is without mind and such. The nature of Brahman is one of greatness. The nature of Brahman is one that is ancient. The nature of Brahman is one of permanence. The nature of Brahman is one of indestructible existence. The nature of Brahman is one of illuminating consciousness. The nature of Brahman is an originless mass of bliss. The nature of Brahman is one undivided essence. The nature of Brahman is a mass of truth, knowledge, bliss. The nature of Brahman is utter peacefulness. The nature of Brahman is the void that is the knowledge of that. The nature of Brahman is one that abides in itself. The nature of Brahman is immobile like a rock. The nature of Brahman is untainted, Kevala, aloneness. The nature of Brahman is to be ever of one nature. The nature of Brahman is one complete fullness. The nature of Brahman is a mass of knowledge. The nature of Brahman is the supreme without a world. The nature of Brahman is the state of silence. The nature of Brahman is the state that the liberated attain. The nature of Brahman is blemishless. The nature of Brahman is different from anything else. The nature of Brahman is immeasurable. The nature of Brahman is the undivided space of consciousness. The nature of Brahman is the knowledge of knowledge. The nature of Brahman is beyond everything. The nature of Brahman is the fullness of fullness. The nature of Brahman is above all. The nature of Brahman is one of undiminishing omnipresence. The nature of Brahman is qualityless, devoid of attributes. The nature of Brahman is unsullied joy. The nature of Brahman is beyond the reach of mind and speech. The nature of Brahman is the reality of reality. The nature of Brahman is one that is the essence of all. The nature of Brahman is the consciousness of consciousness. The nature of Brahman is one that has no distinguishing characteristics. The nature of Brahman is the seed of the seed. The nature of Brahman is one to be comprehended through Vedanta. The nature of Brahman is different from anything. The nature of Brahman is one that exists everywhere. The nature of Brahman is one of existing alone. The nature of Brahman is one without sorrow. The nature of Brahman is one that is pure. The nature of Brahman is one that is the absolute truth. The nature of Brahman is one that is unshifting. The nature of Brahman is truth. The nature of Brahman is one without attachments. The nature of Brahman is one devoid of anything. The nature of Brahman is one that is the reality. The nature of Brahman is one that has no connections. The nature of Brahman is one that is eternal. The nature of Brahman is one that is omnipresent. The nature of Brahman is one that is wondrous. The nature of Brahman is one that has no qualifying features. The nature of Brahman is one that is pure. The nature of Brahman is one that is free. Brahman is the meaning of the word tat, that. Brahman is the meaning of the word tvam, you. Brahman is the meaning of the word asi, are. Brahman is the meaning of the word akhandaikarasa, one undivided essence. Brahman is the meaning of the word aham, I. Brahman is the meaning of the word Brahman. Brahman is the meaning of the word asmi, am. Brahman is the meaning of the word one undivided essence. Brahman is the meaning of the word existence. Brahman is the meaning of the word consciousness. Brahman is the meaning of the word bliss. Brahman is the meaning of the word one undivided essence. Brahman is the meaning of the word the phenomenal world. Brahman is the meaning of the word jiva, individual. Brahman is the meaning of the word Ishvara. Brahman is the meaning of the word one undivided essence. Brahman itself appears as delusion. Brahman itself appears as ignorance. Brahman itself appears as thought. Brahman itself appears as the world. Brahman itself appears as the individual, Jiva. Brahman itself appears as the Lord, Ishvara. Brahman itself appears as the Guru. Brahman itself appears as the disciple. Brahman itself appears as Brahma, the creator. Brahman itself appears as Hari, the sustainer. Brahman itself appears as Hara, the destroyer. Brahman itself appears as the gods. Brahman itself appears as creation. Brahman itself appears as existence. Brahman itself appears as dissolution. Brahman itself appears as all. All things appearing otherwise, wherever, in whatever way seen, are Brahman, of the nature of knowledge, and the substratum of all everywhere, and nothing apart from Brahman. Wherever waves and such are seen, these are only the ocean. Could they be anything apart? Whatever appearances are seen, wherever, are, likewise, Brahman and nothing apart. The numerous waves, rising and falling in the ocean of water, are only a modification of water. Has anyone seen any other state in between? The waves of the phenomenal world and anything else, rising and subsiding in the ocean of Brahman consciousness, being also only that Brahman consciousness, truly cannot be anything else in between. Like the axiom that all modifications of earth are only earth, all modifications of water are only water, and all modifications of space are only space. So all the world, individuals, and the Supreme, being in Brahman consciousness, are only Brahman. Like the axiom that the thief seen in the tree due to fear is only just a tree, the axiom that the silver seen in misconception in the nacre is only nacre. I don't know how to pronounce that word. And the axiom that the serpent seen in the rope in the darkness is ever only the rope. So the differentiation of the world and being seen in Brahman is completely always Brahman. As all superimpositions everywhere are only the substratum thereof, so the world and beings, the superimpositions, seen as adhering on the substratum of Brahman, are only the Supreme Brahman, the enduring substratum. This is the ultimate conclusion of the crest of the Vedas, the conclusion graciously expounded by Shiva in this, The experience of the enlightened is also this. Hence, there is not an atom apart from Brahman. All is ever only Brahman. What gets submerged in the ocean of birth and death, due to bad vasanas, tendencies, impressions, ideas, notions, as an individual jiva, is only Brahman. What experiences listening and other means due to good vasanas is only Brahman. What remains as Brahman, rid of fear due to the vasana of non-difference, is also only Brahman. It is only Brahman that performs the daily and occasional rites toward an end as prescribed. It is only Brahman that obtains purity of mind by such actions. It is only Brahman that practices well, listening Shravana with a pure mind. It is only Brahman that practices well, reflection, manana, constantly with devotion. It is only Brahman that continuously, unremittingly engages in contemplation. It is only Brahman that is the absorption in meditation, with senses functioning. It is only Brahman that is established as the knowledge of that, the void, in absorption in meditation without functioning of the senses. It is only Brahman that becomes still, like a rock, and remains unsullied. It is only Brahman that sees things mistakenly, in variety and differentiation due to conditioning like delusion. The conclusion by supreme knowledge that only Brahman exists is also Brahman alone. The idea, due to the ignorance of Maya, that I am the individual and different, is also only Brahman. The determination that is free of duality, due to supreme knowledge, that I am the supreme, is also only Brahman. The primal ignorance is only Brahman. The actions arising therefrom are also only Brahman. The knowledge that cuts asunder bondage is also only Brahman. The supreme state of liberation is only Brahman. All worldly interactions with attachment are only Brahman. The supreme principle without duality is also only Brahman. All ever is only Brahman. In the name of the feet of Shiva, there is no doubt of this. There is nothing at any time that is permanent, apart from Brahman, which is eternal. In whatever way and forever whatever exists, all that in all those ways is only Brahman. The non-dual, perfectly full, imperishable existence, which is established as the self. In the name of Shiva, the mass of existence, consciousness, bliss, what is said is the truth. There is no doubt of this. I am ever only Brahman. There is no doubt of this. I am ever only Brahman. There is no doubt of this. You are ever only Brahman. There is no doubt of this. You are ever only Brahman. There is no doubt of this. All others are only Brahman. There is no doubt of this. All others are only Brahman. There is no doubt of this. All is only Brahman. There is no doubt of this. All is only Brahman. There is no doubt of this. There is not an atom apart from Brahman, not an atom. There is not an atom apart from Brahman, not an atom. All ever is only Brahman. All ever is only Brahman. I say this in the name of the pair of exalted feet of Supreme Shiva. I say this in the name of the pair of exalted feet of Supreme Shiva. All this exposition is the truth. All this exposition is the truth. If one utters, hears, or teaches to others this exposition, that all that appears as the world or individuals or the Supreme is only Brahman, he will thereby attain quickly the knowledge of the pure Supreme and rid of all ego, become Brahman, the perfectly full bliss. Though everything is ever the one Supreme Brahman, and nothing is apart therefrom in the least, people of devious minds with the defect of the lack of grace of the Supreme Shiva, and who view everything as differentiated, are subject to the miseries of recurrent births and deaths. Hence all those desirous of liberation should obtain the grace of the Supreme Shiva, which none can do without, and avoid the misery of samsara, the recurrent birth and death of and suffering cycle. By the grace of the undivided knowledge conferred by the compassion of the Supreme Shiva, there are various means prescribed by the rare scriptures, such as activities suitable for aspirants of different levels, for emancipation from samsara. Among these, listening and others are useful, and the contemplation of Brahman is the best. Grace will be realized thereby. Hence, the misery of samsara should be removed by means of the constant contemplation of Brahman, that all that is sentient is the undivided Supreme Brahman, and that the Supreme Brahman is myself. Thus, by this practice, one obtains the grace of the Supreme Shiva, and the undivided, unwavering knowledge of the self, becoming oneself, the Supreme Brahman, the mass of knowledge. For the benefit of all, I have explained this to you here today, as earlier expounded in His compassion, by the Supreme Ishvara, Lord, who is of the nature of eternal bliss. There is not an atom of doubt in this. How can there be any doubt in what the Lord has said in the Daga? Thus, the sage Ribhu spoke of the changeless supreme reality. In order to efface the misery of recurrent birth and death of the devotees, it is the infinite form of our Lord in the state of joyous dance that says, the divided, wondrous beings, Ishvara, that is infinitely pervasive, and the wondrous world are all only Brahman. So I finished that chapter for today, and a little bit I was rushing because Nitya is coming on the Vita channel now to read. So I have to go, and I'm very grateful for anyone who has been listening to this, and that's all. Thank you.